My name is Ginny, also known as 2/3 Lotus, everywhere on the internet. This clip is part of my series, The Poets of Twitch, where I analyze my viewers' writing live on stream. Nothing has been edited out, so you're seeing this exactly as streamed with all of the imperfections and tangents that come with being live. If you want to catch me live or want more information, check out the description. Otherwise, enjoy some excellent writing. Title is The Body. The bones of autumn crack and break. My feet meet earth, but do not wake. The body of earth that always sleeps. The skin turns reds and blues and greens. Covered in vines, bushes, and trees, the body that lays beneath my feet. It hollows its chest with the changing of leaves. Its brain turns to sand, its skin to roots. The body of earth is dying again, and we will see this to the end. For what a beautiful death it is, to have vines and flowers cover your skin, to only be born anew in the end. Gonna read it again. The body. The bones of autumn crack and break. My feet meet earth but do not wake. The body of earth that always sleeps. The skin turns reds and blues and greens, covered in vines, bushes, and trees. The body that lays beneath my feet. It hollows its chest with the changing of leaves. Its brain turns to sand, its skin to roots. The body of earth is dying again, and we will see this to the end. For what a beautiful death it is, to have vines and flowers cover your skin, to only be born anew in the end. Shall we talk about form? This is by DrowningDevil12. It's amazing. Pinguino Man likes it. So, form. Form is something we get to play with. Brains turn to sand is good, yeah. Break and wake. We talk about rhyme scheme. So we do break, we do wake. Then we do sleeps, greens, trees, feet, leaves, which is like all sort of near rhymes. And then we have sand and roots, which just don't. And then we have again and end, which are basically rhymes, right? And it definitely tripped me up, I would say. And you said you feel iffy about this one. Some of it, the bones of autumn crack and break, my feet meet earth but do not wake. That is like basically in verse. I can read that as iambic, but iambic, it'd be less. It's like octameter. The bones of autumn crack and break. My feet meet earth but do not wake. Ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. Right? And I think it sounds odd because you start with something that is, maybe intentionally, maybe not, in this form, right? And then you go, the body of earth that always sleeps. It doesn't. You can't do the same form there. The body of earth that, you know? iamb doesn't work there, right? But then you still see, as you're looking ahead, as you're reading, the same rhyme scheme, right? And I think that's what makes it sound weird. So it's just like my initial comment. And you could either like lean into a form and rework this to be something of a sonnet or whatever. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. You have 14 lines. Like, when you see a poem this size, 14 lines, which is a sonnet, and then the first two are in pentameter. Admittedly, they're not pentameter. They're iambic, right? It'd be like 4-tameter, because it's not 10, not 5. Iambic, pentameter, iambic something. You're like, oh, the alarm bells go ringing. And you're like, it's in meter, it's a sonnet. Something's happening here. And then it's not. So it's fine to like break form and like do different things with form, but maybe it's contributing to the poem. Let's talk about how doing it like this does contribute to the poem. The bones of autumn crack and break, my feet meet earth, but do not wake. So what does this mean? The bones of autumn crack and break. I take this to be sticks. The bones of autumn, sticks from trees, my feet and earth, I'm stepping on something, kind of clomping through autumn leaves and sticks and detritus, right? Which we have in this very poetic meter. It does make this sound beautiful. The bones of autumn crack and break, my feet meet earth, but do not wake. The body of earth that always sleeps. So, the skin turns reds and blues and greens. Da-da, 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 da-da. The skin turns reds and blues and greens. That's your meter again, right? But then the body of or that, that's too long. That's too many things. So these are each 8 syllables. This is 8 syllables. The skin turns red and blues and greens, right? Swing? Yeah, that's what iamb is. So iambic verse is da-dum, da-dum. The most common iambic poetry is iambic pentameter, which is what we would call generally, not what we call generally, it is used in sonnets. Iambic pentameter is da-dum, that's an iamb, ba-bum, ba-bum, da-dum, da-dum, right? 5 times, 5 iambs. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. That's a sonnet. I don't know any sonnets off the top of my head. But if I were to speak, it would be like, I like to go to school and learn writing. Ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. That's 10, right? Sonnet 18, Shakespeare. I don't know Sonnet 18 by Shakespeare. Tin Can 322. Welcome in, Tin Can 322. Whoa, there's already an ad break? It's gonna start. I'm gonna push it back. How are you doing, Tin Can? Shall I compare thee to a summer day? There. That is iambic pentameter. Thank you, Tin Can 322. Perfect. So, in this case, you're not quite following that form. The bones of autumn crack and break. My feet meet earth but do not wake. The skin turns reds and blues and greens. So you're not doing pentameter, 5 iambs. You're doing 4. So I don't know if that would be like quadrameter or something. I don't know if there's a word for it. I have not read the little book on form, which is big. So, but this is what you set up, right, in your first 2 lines and your third, and your fourth, which is great. It works well. It sounds good. It moves. But then you have the body of earth that always sleeps. The body of earth that always sleeps. That's 9 syllables, which cannot be 4 iambs, which are 2. And I think this is what makes your form feel weird. Covered in vines, bushes, and trees. Again, the body, but then the body is not iambic. The body that lays beneath my feet. Which is like this one, right? It hollows, and then this is just out of form. This is all not form anyway, right? So this is maybe where your formal as in relating to form issue comes from, right? And now there is some degree of like, you can definitely use something like this as a poetic statement. The body of earth that always sleeps. I do not wake it, right? This is to say maybe that my steps, I'm small, the things I do are not heard, is basically what this line is saying, right? And perhaps then, with the idea of not being heard, with the idea of earth not waking under your feet, maybe it makes sense that you break your form. And if I was speaking, I would lean into that. The bones of autumn crack and break. My feet meet earth but do not wake. The body of earth that always sleeps. Right? There's a defeated sense in form breaking. The skin turns reds and blues and greens, covered in vines, bushes, and trees. The body that lays beneath my feet. It hollows its chest with the changing of leaves. So, in a sense, this isn't bad, right? It's cool that, like, every time you use the body, the title of the poem, it's this way to break the form. That's kind of fun. I think that's cool. If so, maybe I would encourage you to expand that form throughout. Or if that wasn't the route you wanted to take, you could just kind of adjust these so they're not so much in form. You could get rid of the rhymes, right? But regardless, earth does not hear us as we step. We are these little critters on earth's surface running around. It's kind of what the start says. The skin turns reds and blues and greens, covered in vines, bushes, and trees. So the body itself, something decomposing, is being reclaimed to nature, or bruises. Yes, Tin Can. And bruises, the overgrowth of being covered in vines, bushes, red berries or blue berries, trees, green, whatever, right? These are all potential interpretations. And then, but regardless, the body being reclaimed, the body that lays beneath my feet, underneath the bones of autumn, something buried, someone dead. It hollows its chest with the changing of leaves. Its brain turns to sand, its skin to roots. Right? Again, the body decomposes. And then the body of earth is dying again. and we will see this to the end. For what a beautiful death it is to have vines and flowers cover your skin, and only to be born anew again. Or born anew in the end. I think this word is really interesting, again, how it kind of functions in this poem, and what it means to die again. Right? That's a very interesting thing, to die twice. Right? But before we talk about it, I'm going to get a drink of water. I'm going to run a short little self-care ad break just for a couple minutes. Make sure to stand up and not watch the ads. Stretch your arms. And yeah, don't watch the ads. Take care of yourselves. And drink some water. Go to the bathroom. I do the same. You're not missing anything. Stretchies. Okay, we're back. Maybe we're not back from the ads, but I'm sitting down again. I'm not going to start until the ad is like over. Hey, Stylish. From Brighton. Is that in the UK? A whole bunch of people just showed up. We're like technically on an ad break, so some people aren't back yet. If you come in, it is in Britain. Awesome. So that's fun. You're on your little trip. Super cool. King Poyo. How good am I at art? Because I should make emotes. When I was stretching, I thought you were being the girl from The Ring, one who walks backwards on all fours. Does she walk like in a bridge? Like King Poyo. Hold on. You got 5 ads? That's a lot of ads. Like, does the person walk like in a bridge? Like if I go like that, does she like walk like this? Is that what you're talking about? Because I sort of can. I'm not proficient. Anyway. Okay. Welcome in, Stylish. Also. King Boyo, you asked how good I am at art. And I should make my... Couldn't see where my face was. Isn't that The Grudge? That is The Grudge. Okay. Y'all know horror movies better than me, apparently. I don't know them. Y'all should recommend me some for Halloween. But I'm pretty good at art. If you look at the About page, that art is by me. And I could make emotes for the channel. I need to make one that says BIM. So there can be BIM in chat. It's the only one I care to make. Anyway. We were going to talk about the Earth. The body of Earth is dying again. Right? Yes, on BIM emotes. Okay. So, the body of Earth is dying again. This is really interesting. We only die once, right? Everyone right now, you know, the Twitch has those pride flags. Like this one, horror movie recommendation is Speak No Evil. F'd you up. Original one though. Okay. Like, how do you die twice? And I think this is referring to like the sort of final death to me of nature, of the body decomposing and being reborn, right? Once the body is fully gone, it will be reborn anew to flourish with new life. As the brain turns to sand, as the skin turns to roots, right? We will see this to the end, for what a beautiful death it is, to have vines and flowers cover your skin, to only be born anew in the end, right? It says dying, so it isn't quite dead yet. Right. Someone has died, is how I read this. Right. The body of the earth, with skin, with a brain, like a human body, dead, and then being reclaimed by nature. So dead in terms of done with life, dying as in to be fully decomposed and returned to nature. It's kind of my main interpretation here. Right, and in that sense, it could be actually Drowning Devil really interesting to use what we talked about with the form, to have the process of breaking down. The bones of autumn crack and break, my feet meet earth but do not wake. The body of earth that always sleeps. The skin turns red and blues and greens, covered in vines, bushes and trees. The body that lays beneath my feet. And if we went back into verse with each of these, talking about the natural process, you can use the verse as a description of nature, the way it flows, the natural processes, and I think that could be like a really cool angle and a way to utilize sort of what some would call like a mistake that you've made by having verse that's like incomplete. So then you would have to, you know, edit these. Its brain breaks down to dust and sand. That would be 8. Its brain breaks down to dust and sand. Its skin to roots. Its hands to something. Hand would rhyme with sand. It'd be kind of cool, right? But like before the end of the line. So you could do stuff like that, right? And then the body of earth is dying again. The body of earth, it just doesn't, like the body isn't iambic at the start of the line, which makes it very clearly this departure from verse. And then you have them split fairly evenly, these the bodies. I think if you moved this, if you had the body in this line, in line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then there would be 3 before it, and then the body, and then 2, and then you could do like 3 after it, and then move the body here, and then 3. Then it would be a little more balanced if you want to play with the verse, but this structure works fine too. And we will see this end, and we will see this to the end. That's already in verse. For what a beautiful death it is. You can use an apostrophe there. So, beautiful. This is a great thing for verse, which I'm going to show you all, which like Shakespeare does, everyone does. If you have a word, beautiful, right? It's a lot of syllables. It's very awkward. It generally doesn't fit iambically, right? Beautiful. Beautiful. It's just clunky from a poetic perspective. However, we can fix the word beautiful. You love my writing. Thank you. It's maybe beautiful with an apostrophe. Anything that doesn't work, you can just change it in like iambic verse or any verse to fix the pronunciation. So instead of saying beautiful, beautiful, you can say beautiful, beautiful, 2 syllables. And to do that, you would just add an apostrophe where the I is. This is a strategy that works very well. You can do it all the time. Join. What are you trying to join? Is there something you're trying to join? Discord? I can put the Discord link. Oh, submit. Gotcha. So yeah, beautiful, right? And then, for what a beautiful death it is. That fits in your verse. To have vines and flowers cover your skin is actually 10, so you would need to shorten that. Da-da, 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 right? To only be born anew in the end. To only be born anew in the end. So these are actually like basically iambic pentameter. So you want to shorten them if you're going to play with this idea of verse and like iron it out consistently, right? You have time to read later? Maybe. You might be able to do one more. I've got some energy going. So one option for you, Drowning Devil, if you wanted, right, you could restructure and use the verse to your advantage in the way we talked about, having the verse represent the flow of nature, having submit anyway, because it'll go into the form, and if I don't get to it today, then I can get to it on another stream. Only when you're here, though. That's the deal. I'm never going to read something when the author isn't here. So, and that's a cool thing with structure, is structure and verse do not need to just be things to like make our poems sound pretty or add a layer of complexity. Sometimes it feels like, well, why would I write a sonnet? It's just like needlessly complex and puts rules on my poem, right? However, form can actually help convey the message of your poem. And if you're using a form, you should use it to your advantage. And then, of course, in this case, breaking structure can convey your message. A sonnet, which is 14 lines of iambic pentameter, or iambic pentameter, right, as opposed to iambic 4-ameter, which we have here. A sonnet is most traditionally a love poem. And your poem, not quite being a sonnet, being iambic, being 14 lines, but being short one iamb, every line maybe says something about your poem. That it's love, but it's less. There's some sadness here in the death, but there's also rebirth, and that is a happy thing. More melancholy, perhaps. So, just the way you write your poem has connotations in the same way that when you use certain words, they are naturally symbols through our culture and language, right? And that's very important to keep an eye on, and of course use to your own advantage. We always want our own writing to to do more and be better, right? If we're writers, I think that's a safe thing to say. Do you have any you said, Drowning Devil, how you were sort of unhappy with the form. Does that help, and do you have any other questions or things within this poem that you feel you would want to improve on or you have questions on? Because that's like my little talk on maybe form, what you could do with it, the way it's playing in this poem, and the way you could play with it and mess with form, which is always a lovely thing to do. Overall, I think the interpretation, as I see it, this idea of the body dying, decaying, the comfort of being born anew after death. You've talked about this before in poetry. We read Mother Nature Will One Day Cradle Me in Her Arms, which is a very similar poem. right? Which makes me not have nearly as much to say about it. I can't think of any questions, but thank you for asking. Does anyone else in chat? I didn't ask you, Drowning Devil. You're fine with this? Are you fine with this on YouTube? Are you fine with other chatters giving comment? Are you... Stylish Fail, you asked earlier whose poem this is. This is Drowning Devil's. I don't know if I answered that. I think I might have missed a few. Wow, I missed like quite a few chats. Sorry about that. Okay, so if anyone else in chat has thoughts or questions or comments or, you know, questions for Drowning Devil, questions for me about this poem, about form, just comments for Drowning Devil. Try to give more than praise, always, right? Just getting praise is, not very helpful. Of course, it's a great poem. Or it's got great ideas, right? I feel like I'm gonna get to the point where I keep writing about the same stuff over and over again, and I fear for that day. The pain, the struggle of, like, creative stagnation you worry about. Am I going to run out of ideas? Am I going to keep running? Am I going to keep writing the same thing? Right. It's difficult. It's scary. Just live life. So, I guess I have a few ideas off the top of my head for fighting creative stagnation. First of all, you see the ways that you might be writing the same thing. So as long as you pay attention to what you are writing and make a conscious effort to write new things, you're going to be fine. How do you find new things to write? I would suggest reading a lot. I have veered in my poetry in a wildly different creative direction from my old writing, completely unintentional, because I read so much Bukowski and watch every Bukowski YouTube video that pops up on my recommended. Read, consume media. Don't let this be, like, too much. You need to write your own stuff. But find new ideas. Find inspiration. Right? You can write about that fear as well. That will probably help you learn about it. You can experiment. So let's say you keep writing about nature, which, you know, you've sent me a few nature poems. You've also sent me a bunch of not nature poems. I wouldn't say you've stagnated in any way, but experiment and try to experiment both within the theme and without. So let's say you're writing about nature and you feel your nature writing is boring. It's not. Rather than finding something other than nature to write about, experiment with nature writing. Try new form. Try different things. Soha Gamma Dion. Soha Gamma Dion. Hello and welcome. We are currently reading a poem by DrowningDevil12 titled The Body, and we're talking about how to combat the idea of stagnating in the ideas that you write. So again, try to write nature poems in different forms. Write a sonnet, and a sonnet is a love poem, so you'll have to write, or you won't have to, you'll subvert the form, nature poem in a form of love. Write an alliterative poem about nature. Write something specifically for spoken word. Mess with form, and you'll find new ways to engage with nature. Right? Now, you could experiment within it, and you'd also experiment without in other topics. Right? How do you experiment with new topics? Well, first you need to find them. And one option would be to stay close to nature and kind of add topics to them. Right? Take nature, but talk about nature as it relates to something else, society, or nature as it relates to technology, or nature as it relates to history, nature and the future. You can use nature in many different ways instead of just talking about nature. Or you can take those same topics and just go in a completely far off direction. Write something that's very distant, maybe the furthest thing from nature, a city, society, all of that. Write something about a city without writing about nature. Force yourself to do something new, right? These are good things. Those are all options. That sounds like a nice thing to do. It's very fun to read other people's poems on stream. You can also submit your own with the submit command. Quick holiday. Yeah, England. Cool. So these are maybe some options. So paying attention, reading, consuming media, experimenting. Something that Penguino Man said as advice, just live life. Movies, books, and stories, they're all going to give you new ideas. Yeah, and that's like media, but also doing new things. If you find new passions, new things to write about, go out. And you could do that again within the topic of nature and outside. Go out to a new place in nature you've never been to. That could inspire a whole new slew of ideas about nature if you just go to a new place. You could also do something entirely new. Just a new hobby, a new joy, a new experience. That's going to give you new things. Met a publisher who asked for my socials, said they were interested in... Penguino Man. That is so cool. I've never met a publisher who said they wanted to publish my work. Oh, that's so cool. If there's any publishers in chat, I'm looking to publish. But these are all ways to combat any sort of perceived stagnation. You could also wonder, you're not a fan of the publisher? I'd publish you if I was one. That's sweet. You can also just go back and be very, how would I put it? Very honest with yourself. Are you really? If you feel like you're stagnating, and you might not be yet, you said you worry you will someday, always make sure to ask, am I actually stagnant in my writing? Or is this a sort of imposter syndrome? I'm trying to find reasons that my work is not as good as it should be. I'm trying to find reasons that my art is stagnant and dead. Maybe it's not, right? And that's always an important thing to consider too. Of course it does happen, but you're an artist. You'll tend to trend away from this as long as you live a life, you do new things, you pay attention, you'll be fine. Try open mics is Penguino Man's suggestion. You'll also hear other people. Penguino Man, I'm so glad that you're doing open mics. It's really cool. So, I guess that answers maybe that question. Hearing other poets exposes you to their style, and you can rob them of it and then stall them. Yes, you can. And that's similar to what we do just reading Bukowski on stream, right? I have been unconsciously, subconsciously maybe, stealing Bukowski's style and writing it in my poems to the point where sometimes I cannot escape bim 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 and his cynicism, his style, writing things that are more cynical. That's just how it goes, right? I asked my mom to drive me to one, but she refused to take me. Of course she doesn't like poetry. Find friends. You can even contact the person organizing the open mic. The organizers tend to know the people that frequent those kind of events. Maybe they know someone who would be near you, who would give you a ride. Sounds sort of intimidating setting up a ride with a stranger, but like, get yourself there. There are ways to do it. See if there's a bus line, you know. If I ever come across an online one, I could invite you. I would love to do a Poets of Twitch open mic where we do like a Discord call and y'all come in and... Oh, maybe we could organize one. Exactly what I was saying. I'm worried about getting murdered if I drive with a stranger. If they're a poet, you're not going to get murdered. You'll be fine. But I do understand the apprehension. Maybe we should do a Poets of Twitch open mic sometime on Twitch. I think that would be very fun. We will, I would like to do that. That'd be cool. It could be a regular thing. Monthly, every 2 weeks, maybe more. Who knows? Anyway, do you have any other questions about this poem? Anybody? Or about creative stagnation, as we talked about, or about form, or how to use apostrophes in verse, or what is iambic pentameter again, or shall I give this a final read and move on to maybe more poetry? True, it would be nice to finally hear everyone's voice. Yeah. I'm going to start hanging out before streams in like the Discord channel on the server. So just like a pre-stream hangout. Do you want to write a poem together? That's cool. Y'all should. This is good. These are good things. Collaboration is very cool. I have imaginary voices. My voice is not imaginary. You get my real voice. Anyway, it sounds like I'm going to give this one more read, and then we're going to go on to something else. And that's also convenient, because it looks like I need to run an ad break soon. The Body by DrowningDevil12. The bones of autumn crack and break, my feet meet earth, but do not wake. The body of earth that always sleeps. The skin turns red and blues and greens, covered in vines, bushes, and trees. The body that lays beneath my feet. It hollows its chest with the changing of leaves, its brain turns to sand, its skin to roots. The body of earth is dying again. And we will see this to the end. For what a beautiful death it is, to have vines and flowers cover your skin, to only be born anew in the end. The Body by DrowningDevil12. Thank you for watching. I encourage you to check out the rest of the series, follow if you enjoyed, and stop by Twitch if you want to share your own work. See you there.